Welcome to another episode of Presentation Hell. I am AlexAnndra Ontra, your host, and we are podcasting today from Embark Collective Studios in Tampa, Florida. And with us today, we have the founder, Rocio Frej Vitalle of Improving Aviation, and Maria Tirado, who is Head of Business Operations Manager. And I'm personally very excited to be speaking with you guys today because Rocio and I, Improving Aviation and Shuffler were in the same class at Tampa Bay Wave Women Tech Rising back in, what was it, like 2021?
Yeah.
We're like starting our companies, doing our fundraising pitches, learning our elevator pitches. Those are the worst. And here we are, two years later, building our businesses, and you're growing, obviously.
It's been a journey.
So yeah, it is. And so first, Rocio, let me ask you, because you're from Spain and you came to the States and you're an aerospace engineer. Like, it blows my mind just to listen to you sometimes. I'm like, what is she? What? So why don't, if you don't mind, tell us your journey, how you came to the States, why you came to the States. I believe you're playing tennis. Yeah, from tennis to aerospace engineering. Obviously, it's a straight path. So if you could give us because it's a great journey and it's so entrepreneurial and perfectly American. So
yeah, it's the American dream, isn't it?
Yeah,
Definitely.
exactly.
Yeah, so I came here, I was 18. I moved to Boise, Idaho, to play tennis, college tennis. And I think making it as a tennis pro is almost harder than making it as a startup founder. So I decided I wasn't going to do that. I guess I wasn't good enough. And then, what is harder than that? Let's open a startup.
Yeah, right. Because aerospace engineering is so much easier than playing tennis.
I think it is. Or maybe I'm a nerd.
Really?
And it's easier for me. I don't know.
So you were an engineer major in school while you were playing tennis.
So I majored in aerospace engineering, went to DC. I worked for a consulting company up in DC for 7 years.
And what kind of problems were you solving when you worked for that consulting company? Like, what was your role there?
So it was very aviation focused. Mm-hmm. So there we were just working with NASA, with the Federal Aviation Administration, Department of Transportation. How do you modernize the current airline operations, the current air traffic management systems? So my role was starting obviously as a recent grad from a technical analyst, growing into leading their R&D department on how are we going to develop new solutions in the airspace.
You're talking about air traffic control, meaning all of those lives on those planes that are flying, landing, and taking off from a very small geographical space. They say that air traffic control is like one of the most stressful jobs in the world because it's one little mistake and you just crashed an airliner with 300 people on it. So you graduated, you went to work as a consultant. How did you then get the idea for Improving Aviation?
Yeah, so again, I think there's so many things that you can do in the tech industry, and working in DC, working in government related. And don't get me wrong, I love doing that, but there is also a lot of structure. Yeah. Where in a startup you can go and create your own ideas and see if they can take flight, really. So I just was ready to start putting the work into something that could be real, not in 20 years, but maybe in
today,
5 years, 2 years.
And what does Improving Aviation do?
So we started doing technologies for air traffic management. Since then, we realized that there is a huge gap for really all field operations, from wildfire to DOD to aerospace.
Department of Defense.
Department of Defense.
Fire, did you say? Fire safety?
We're doing wildfire safety.
Wildfires, excuse me.
You have all the technology being developed, Silicon Valley, what you guys are doing at Shuffler. Right. You have a lot of AI integrated for business operations. Right. But when you come to field operations, that doesn't happen so often because they've been doing things the same way for so many years.
So you saw the opportunity, and also knowing that the government, NASA, big organizations generally move very, very slowly.
Yes.
So it was greenfield. You saw the opportunity.
Yeah, so we're not changing the way they do things. We're enhancing by slowly and being very sensitive to the way they do things, bringing deep tech and new tech into their operations because the technology exists. All the startups here in Tampa are proving that deep tech, AI powered. So how do we bring that to areas where historically it's been much harder to change the way we do things?
And how are you doing it? Because as a startup with zero resources, you're trying to sell to the government. You're trying to sell to the Department of Defense, to air traffic control. These are huge bureaucracies that are set in their ways, and it could take months just to get a meeting. So how and as a small startup, how do you do it? What's been your approach? And tell us, like, what are your challenges?
I'm going to add something here because
Okay,
I
great.
think that Rocio will be very humble when like explaining this. Something that I think that is very important is like that type of reputation, the customer service that you are providing, and like that relationship that you have with clients. And Rocio mentioned that she worked for this company in DC for 7 years. During those 7 years, she created a really good reputation for herself where, people, when companies, when she created her own business, they were coming to her like, okay, let's work together. So that type of reputation, that type of customer service, being adaptable, being flexible to the different situations, I think that has helped in making sure that those connections with these government agencies, to get the little step in the door, and creating that relationship that takes years.
You built relationships, you networked, and in business and in life, one step leads to another.
Yeah, one door opens the next one.
And it's like, I want to help. I want to do something different. Like, let me learn from you so I can develop that deep tech that we're talking about, that is tailored to what you need. I'm not just saying like, oh, you need this. No, let me listen to what you need, what your need is, what your problem is, what the gap is.
Right.
And let me take that information, and with Improving Aviation, let me develop something that is unique to you, that is going to solve, or hopefully solve, those issues that you're having.
Listening is the most important part of sales. Hands down. It is actually, it's the most important part of any relationship. And sales is really a relationship.
Yeah.
So in layman's terms, because I know I'm speaking with very smart people here, what does aviation do? Like what does improving aviation do? Like, okay, you talked about wildfires. What do you do to help put out a wildfire, or maybe prevent one? I don't know. What?
Yeah, so we take information from multiple sources: National Weather Service, population vulnerability, census, and we put it all on. The wildfire fires today use their own app called TAC in many cases. So we bring it into the app that they are already using. That way we're not telling them, oh, you have to use this new technology.
Because people don't like change.
Right.
It's an add-on.
It's understandable. They've been risking their life for 20 years. Now am I going to come here? I've never been to a wildfire and tell them how to do things.
Right.
No, but I can give them more information. So we bring that information together and we help point where those areas of higher risk are in their application that they're already using. So, and sometimes we'll get very fancy and we can deploy a drone that helps us decide what is the hot spot. And then the wildfire fighter can just see a red hot spot on their app that says, hey, watch out, the fire is going to be spreading there. And at the same time, you have vulnerable population. So this is the area where I think you should deploy the resources.
Right.
So it's an incremental step.
And to add, I'm not technical, so I mean, some of these things that I'm learning since I've been with Improving Aviation, they're like over my head. But actually, last week, as we are starting to prepare for the commercialization phase on that, hopefully we're gonna enter during Q1 in 2024. I see it kind of like as a package. So we have a package that includes these sensors, this information. It can be a sensor, it can be a drone, it can be that type of technology, and all of that technology connects to a central device. That central device is called IoT.
IoT.
IoT,
Mhm.
information
Internet of Things.
Internet of Things. That's what I
Sorry.
thought it was. I was like,
Internet
don't
of
change
Things.
that
Sorry,
acronym because
sorry.
you're going to confuse people. Yeah, Internet of Things.
Internet of Things. So that device connects with that technology that Rocio was talking about. That's what firefighters use, which is
Tactical Awareness Kit.
Tactical Awareness Kit. Because we just don't have enough acronyms in this
Exactly.
world
Yes,
today, right?
to make it. So that device, that IoT connects to TAC, and
Mhm.
then it's able to give that real time actionable information for field operators to use as a fire, for example, is happening.
So, and that's just what you said about we're adding on. We're not asking them to make a drastic change. We're enhancing the tools that they already use. And that you position it as Internet of Things, an Internet of Things application to give you better information about where a forest fire is going to break out. That's very manageable. That's not nearly as intimidating as it was when I met you 2 years ago, and you're telling me what you're doing from an aeronautical engineering point of view. And I'm like, what? What did she say? She's so smart. So, and Maria, you brought something up a minute ago. You're like, I'm not a tech person. I'm not an engineer. And I believe you went to UCF?
Yeah,
UCF?
I got my master's from UCF.
In hospitality,
In
right?
hospitality.
Okay, so and now you're working for an aerospace engineering company. So
Yeah.
tell us about that journey, because I love when people just switch.
Yeah.
Or it seems like a switch, but it usually isn't. So how did you what drew you to hospitality? Aside from it's fun and tourism, and then how did you land at an aerospace engineering company at improving aviation?
Yeah, so I mean, you probably can hear I also have an accent.
Yes.
So I'm also from Spain, and we actually are from the same town in Spain.
Did you know each other in Spain?
No.
Okay.
Rocio is a couple years older than me, so we didn't go to the same high school, so we never kind of like crossed paths.
What town are you from?
Zaragoza.
Okay.
It's in the northeast. So if you think Madrid, Barcelona, halfway in between.
Okay.
So I also came here to the US. She played tennis, I play golf. So I came here to the US. I went to college in North Carolina, and I played golf while I was getting my degree over there. I moved to Tampa.
Interesting, you're both like country club sporters. Is that even a word? Country club athletes. Like, it's golf and tennis. It's not like soccer or baseball. It's golf and tennis. Love it.
It was parallel paths from the same town. Didn't know each other, but our parents did.
Yeah, our parents know each
so
other.
I won't steal the story.
No. Our parents, so in the city where we are from, it's not small by any means, but if you live in a specific area, you see the same people day after. So our parents know each other from exactly that, like seeing each other, like maybe having coffee in the same place, or just crossing paths on the streets. So I feel that both sets of parents, they knew that both of their daughters were in the US and they were in Florida, but I don't think that it ever clicked that we both were in Tampa. So back in 2017, 2018, they kind of set us up on a blind date. So, we exchanged numbers, and then we met at Armature Works. We went to, meet there, have a couple of drinks. And
that's a fun place.
Yeah. So,
so it's happening.
Turn out into 1, then 2, then 3, and then it's Wednesday. We have to work tomorrow.
right.
So yeah, and then since then, Rocio had a lot of friends that they were from Spain here in Tampa. So we started hanging out the weekends. The casual thing of like, okay, let's get together for a cookout. Things like
Water
that.
seeks its own level.
Yeah. So yeah. So that's how we met. Now going back to how I ended up here. Yes, I went to UCF to get my master's in hospitality and tourism management. I actually found my love for especially customer service,
Right.
specifically from a job here in Tampa. I used to work for Center Club, which is a business club in Westshore area.
Okay.
They are part of a company. The name has changed over the years, but back then the name was Club Corp. So I learned how much I like that personalization, that attention to detail, that customer service in general. And I found out that UCF had a really good master's program in hospitality and tourist management. So I did my master's there, and I loved it. It was a really good experience. That the whole program is really well made. So I did that. Over the last couple of years, I've been working for a different company. But back in May this year, I was talking to Rocio, and I mentioned that, I was looking for new opportunities. And if she knew anyone that was hiring, right? With no intention whatsoever of it was more like, haha, do you know anyone? So we talked about maybe a possible opportunity of me joining Improving Aviation. So we had some meetings. We talked about the company, what Rocio's vision was for my position, and what type of things I could bring to the company, knowing that I don't have any background in
Aerospace
engineer. So yeah, I joined Improving almost 3 months now, and I love it. I mean, I'm new to the startup environment,
right,
which I think that is great. It's very attractive, very fast paced, which I really like. And what you guys were saying about okay, you see an opportunity and let's explore it. You don't have any, working for a corporation, maybe you have to follow a path.
Right.
And here is I can just explore.
There are no boundaries.
Yeah. So yeah, over the last 3 months, I've been helping Rocio with some of business operations things related, creating a good base and a good foundation for the company. And I love it, especially being here at Embark. It's great in
Embark.
Tampa. So yeah, it's awesome.
That's awesome. So what is what do you see the path? We talk about startups and it's like greenfield, no boundaries, but we do have to chart our course. So tell us, what is the course for that as you see Improving Aviation 2 years out, 7 years out? What is your dream? Share that with us.
So one thing we've learned is that this is a technology where we can't create it in 2 months, right, or even a year, especially because gaining the trust of the person that is going to use it to risk their life, essentially, that's huge. So we need a lot of field testing. We need a lot of development. When we come up with a new idea, it's 2 years until we can commercialize. So we've been doing non-equity funding from the government to sustain ourselves while we develop. And that has been kind of our path for the past 2 years. We are at the point where we have our wildfire technology, as Maria said, ready for commercialization in Q1 of 2024. The next step is to continue growing those commercial products in the private industry while we keep developing innovation and R&D hand in hand with the government, using their funds, using their programs for research and development. And whenever we're ready for commercialization and for putting it out on the field, we commercialize the next technology.
So you have 2 tracks that you're doing simultaneously. It's hard enough to do one.
Yeah.
God bless you. So tell us, we talked about the wildfires, and you mentioned earlier a little bit about, air traffic control. So if you don't mind, tell me about what that product is going to look like and how that's going to make us safer in the air. But we're already very safe in the air to begin with. Just putting it out there.
Yeah, but now everybody is talking about drones. Everybody wants to fly air taxis, and Tampa 2 weeks ago or 10 days ago, at the airport, they flew an autonomous air taxi for the first time.
Really?
And there was someone.
That's really cool.
I believe
you gotta love Tampa. There's always stuff happening here.
It's such a growing
So it's like the
community.
Jetsons.
Yeah. It's and you would think, you're from New York, you would think that would happen in New York, right?
Oh God, the last thing New York needs is people flying through the air. You can barely share a sidewalk.
That's true.
But that's a whole nother topic for another day.
But that's something that could, relieve a lot of traffic in New York. And a lot of companies are investing so much money into being able to fly air taxis from LaGuardia to JFK.
Right.
Or here from Tampa International to Clearwater. If you're a rich person, I don't have to, take a cab and then go to Clearwater, and it's an hour journey.
And sit in traffic, God forbid, there's a red light and you got to sit there for a minute. It's awful driving, terrible.
It is. If you want, go to I-4.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So there is a lot of new technologies, new things that are coming to the aviation industry. So we are, and even for wildfires, people want to fly drones into wildfires now. It's so much more safe to assess the terrain and the situation with a drone than having someone go out there. But if you when we started talking to NASA and saying, hey, we have this cool technology, we use drones to get information, they were like, okay, how are you going to fly drones if we already have helicopter pilots that can't see anything because of the smoke? If you tell them that you're going to fly a drone in their path, they're going to say, hell no. And that's what they said when we talked to them. So we came up with this new solution where you can see the firefighter we were talking before that could see on their app where the fire is going, but there is someone else that coordinates all the traffic. So this person is going to be able to see the drones as well.
Just like an air traffic controller.
Just like
can
an
see
air
all the
traffic
little
controller.
red dots on the screen.
Exactly.
They're going to see the drones and the helicopters as it relates to the fire.
Exactly. So
That's
we're
cool.
working with NASA on that concept of operations and how is it going to look like? How are you going to manage? And hopefully in the future, our intention is to go other than wildfire to, let's say, this scenario in JFK. I want to fly an air taxi, but I already have, like your helicopter tourism helicopters that are going out there. You already have crazy traffic from the busiest airports in the world. So how are you going to fly the air taxis? So we developed that application that creates those routes between the airports and it's kind of like an air traffic control application at a smaller scale and portable. So
that is so cool.
That is hard.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around, what does an air taxi look like? Is it like a little plane? Is it a little helicopter? Is it like a little Jetsons bubble?
The one that...
What does it look like? We're going to have to get some pictures on the video or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, what is an...
The one that Tampa, that event that happened a couple of weeks ago, it looked like at least for me, it looked like a big drone. So if you look at the shape of a drone,
right?
If you put a cabin in the middle of the drone and then just bigger.
Has those little legs sticking out like a spider in the air.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And how many people can ride in an air taxi at once?
I think it depends of the size, obviously. The one they tested, I would say only 2 or maybe 4. And I wasn't there. I wish I could, give you more information. But, they're thinking up to 6-8 people.
Wow.
So
that's really cool. That's amazing. That blows my mind.
Yeah, and it's an
really
exciting time.
It's exciting.
It's exciting.
Good for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So we're excited for the opportunities ahead. Obviously, as Rocio was mentioning, we want to get that feedback and we want to learn exactly what the need is so we can personalize and customize our product.
And the interesting thing that's important to note, because a lot of people think that startups, they just come up with this brilliant idea out of nowhere. But this is your idea, the concept, the products for improving aviation have just been evolving since you started 6-7 years ago working for the government.
Yeah, and I think
everything builds on top of everything else.
And if we ask you about your journey and probably the image that you had for Schaffler 5 years ago, it's maybe different than
5 years ago. I had no idea we would be doing AI. It wasn't even honestly 1 year ago. AI was not on our radar, and now it's all we're doing. Well, not all we're doing, but we're totally focused on that and AI presentations for the enterprise. Yeah,
and I think that that's a good thing, like meaning that you don't have, at least from the startup point of view, is that you have to be able to adapt to the different market needs, and not doing exactly the same thing that you were thinking that you were going to do 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I think that's a good thing, because
adapt or die,
exactly,
evolve or die, pure Darwinism.
And
exactly,
that's one of the good things about startups. I think that you have the flexibility,
and you can
to adapt,
and you can move.
We were hearing, listening to James saying, we decided we're going to do AI, and 1 month later, 30 days later, you had your product out there.
Yep.
A large company would never be able to do that.
No.
Yeah.
No. So that is one of the magical things about working at a startup.
Definitely.
And then here at the Bark too, we have a lot of like resources, right?
Yeah.
So be able to, okay, we have this idea. Does that make sense? How can we put it into place? Like, what do we need? The marketing strategy, product strategy. So it's
Embark has a lot of like big company resources available to startups, which is great. I love coming to work here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming. I'm looking forward to seeing what's coming out for improving aviation. Maria Tirado, Rocio Frej Vitalle. It was our pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you, and wish you continued success. Hopefully in 2 years we can do it another time.
And we're all going to be really rich.
Yeah, I'm sure.
This podcast was brought to you by Shuffler, AI presentations for the enterprise. If you want smart presentations, start with a slide library for faster, smarter, compliant presentations. Shuffler is presentation management.